I'm feeling a bit gaslit, writes Rose. No one seems to have mentioned that Starmer did reference the letter and suggested Sunak might not have seen it. Sunak looked really uncomfortable. I'm beginning to think that me not having watched the debate was not actually the stroke of broadcasting genius that I claimed at 10 o'clock this morning, because I've got no idea now what's going on, except that Sunak and latterly Claire Coutinho have clearly lied. Clearly lied. And clearly in fact, I'll read you the whole letter because someone has to. Thank you for your letter dated 24th of May 2024 regarding the presentation of opposition policy costings. So this is to the Shadow Chief Secretary to the Treasury, Darren Jones, who'd obviously queried some of what his opposite numbers were doing. As you will be aware, when costing the policies of opposition parties, Her Majesty's Treasury and the wider civil service follow established guidance set out in the Directory of Civil Service Guidance. As per this guidance, the costings produced by His Majesty's Treasury and the wider civil service are published on the gov.uk website. As you will expect, civil servants were not involved in the production or presentation of the Conservative Party's document, Labour's Tax Rises, or in the calculation of the total figure used. In your letter, you highlight that the £38 billion figure used in the Conservative Party's publication includes costs beyond those provided by the civil service and published online by His Majesty's Treasury. I agree that any costings derived from any other sources or produced by other organisations should not be presented as having been produced by the civil service. I have reminded ministers and advisers that this should be the case. So that was on the 3rd of June 2024. Subsequently, Rishi Sunak and Claire Coutinho have both claimed that this figure, which the 38 billion breaks down to the 2,000 per household, that they have both claimed that this is costed by independent civil servants, and that is a blatant lie. That is a barefaced lie. That's not an opinion, that's just counting. And in the last few minutes, Rishi Sunak has released a tweet. I don't quite understand it. I think it's a sort of, can I watch it now? Can I just watch it on my phone? Or would that be bad radio? It's like a piggy bank floating through the clouds. Why not? It'd be quite funny to watch it. Like, no? Oh, honestly, but this is the crazy zany stuff people tune in for. You don't get this from the grown-ups. All right, I won't watch it then. Life is spoil sport. But it proves that they're doubling down despite. And this is really interesting. This is really interesting because the question I'm going to ask you, and I've got more calls coming in on what we thought happened last night, by the way, because we haven't got through that many yet. And it's going to be the only debate, I think, between the two leaders. So we may as well fill our boots while we can. The question that I've got forming in the back of my mind is quite a strange one, actually. It's an obvious one. I'm not going to win any prizes for originality. But I probably know more than is healthy about the ways in which the British public has been detached from reality. I probably know more because of the book that I wrote, How They Broke Britain. It is literally looking at a 30, 40-year period in which we could become a country where everything from the despicable Hillsborough front page on Rupert Murdoch and Kelvin Mackenzie's Sun newspaper, right through to the £350 million lie on the side of the bus, or becoming the first population in human history to vote to impose economic sanctions on itself, or indeed have a man as Prime Minister whose relationship with the truth was not so much strained as completely non-existent. So all these different stages in the diminishment of a nation, and it's far from over, of course, as the return to the political fray widely reported this week proves. The process is not over. We are still in the hole. We are still broken, as it were. So I know a little bit more than is healthy about that, but I don't know the answer to this question. So Sunak and the Tories are now lying about Labour's tax plans. It has been proved beyond any reasonable doubt that they are lying. The question that I've got for you is whether or not you think it will work. Because it's worked in the past. Boris Johnson's lies worked. Boris Johnson's lies secured an 80-seat majority in 2019. Nigel Farage's lies and Boris Johnson's lies secured a Brexit referendum victory in 2016. Dominic Cummings's lies, he gets a chapter in the book, that secured. They helped secure a victory in 2016. I don't know. I don't know whether or not this lie will work in the way that previous lies by previous politicians have worked to such a detrimental and such a terrible effect in this country. Does it work as a video if we play it on the radio? Is it going to? All right. I was only asking. Let's just play it then. £2,000. Is that it? And it's just this big floating piggy bank. This is Armando Iannucci. This isn't real, is it? So it's a massive piggy bank floating over a town with a kind of almost what would that be, Keith? Would that be drum and bass or jungle? That kind of no, neither really. Would you say it was ambient? Even that. I thought that was quite industrial. Either way, what an absolute pile of cabbage. But we can't accept that to answer the question. All right. You pay attention more than average because you listen to this program, this radio station, to current affairs. You have watched. Even some of us fell for the lies, didn't we? But you have watched the process by which the lies have been revealed. You can see a country in which some of the biggest liars are not facing any consequences, particularly. You heard on yesterday's program, if you were listening, what it does to the general public. The chap who rang in convinced that, you can laugh when you hear this if you didn't hear the call, but I don't think you'd have laughed if you heard the call, convinced to the point where he'd ring a national radio station, convinced that Sadiq Khan is introducing Sharia law to London. My little worry yesterday that Muslims are going to become the new Brussels in some corners of political debate in the next 4 weeks has not gone away, by the way. I do think that's a very real danger. But the question, at some point it has to break, doesn't it? At some point, the oil tanker has to start heading back towards reality. And politicians who lie to us have to start failing. We've had, and I don't know whether we're there yet. I want to know what you think. Do you think this lie will fail? Part of it has to do with the caliber of liar. Boris Johnson, whatever you think about him, no one could dispute, an absolutely brilliant liar. He spent his whole life lying to his teachers, lying to his parents, lying to his schoolmates, lying to his wives, lying to his mistresses, lying to absolutely everybody, his colleagues, his editors, his employers, his cabinet ministers, the public, Parliament, lying to Parliament. And Boris Johnson was like a kind of Millennium Falcon of liars. Rishi Sunak is obviously profoundly dishonest because he will know, because he's been told that he shouldn't have been claiming these figures were produced by the civil service. But he's not a very good liar, necessarily. So that might be part of it. It might not be a question of whether or not the country is heading back towards the truth. It might just be that you need a really spectacular liar in order to really pull it off, like Trump, for example. So I don't know. But we can ask the specific question this morning of whether or not this lie will land. Sadly, tragically, we live in a country where the political landscape of certainly the last 8 years has been defined almost entirely by lies. We need more, they need us more than we need them. Cost of living will come down. You'll be better off. We'll get Brexit done. There'll be no border in the Irish Sea. I didn't have a party in the House of Commons. My unfunded budget will be brilliant for British business. All of these things. I was looking at what Farage said about Truss's budget, by the way. He said it was the best Tory budget ever, I think, or certainly the best Tory budget of his lifetime. How quickly we forget. So we know that we live in a country where lies work politically on a scale that I find terrifying. Do you think this lie will work? So it's 11:13. Some more post-mortems of yesterday's televised debate, but also now a specific inquiry about whether Rishi Sunak's lies about Labour's spending plans will land.